Hey, what's up guys? Preston here, Citizen Response. Got another video coming to you guys today talking about the Shield Arms Gen 2 S15 magazines. My thoughts, experiences, extensive round count on them. Why I don't recommend them for concealed carry. Fix it. Oh, look at that. Hold up. Got it on camera. Look at that, guys. Shield mag in the middle of shooting. That is not acceptable. Alright guys, kicking it off, we're going to go ahead and talk about the gear that I've been using while doing this extensive test. We've got my Glock 43X and a 48 MOS that I don't have anymore, but both were running the Shield Arms metal mag catch that they recommend. This is the safest way to do it, so you don't chew up the magazines, chew up the mag catch. Just makes the interchangeability work well. This gun is totally stock except for something that I've been testing very recently but has nothing to do with the rest of this test. And then I've had 3 different Shield Arms Gen 2 magazines, and then one extra one with a +5 extension for 4 magazines total. And I've been rotating those, doing various drills, competitions over the past year and a half. All right, so a little quick backstory on how we reached this point. I was actually one of the first 100 people to get the Shield Gen 1 magazines because I pre-ordered them, and I was one of the first people on YouTube that had a failure of that. You can go look back on the channel way back for that. Guys, I was more excited than anybody for these magazines to come out because at the time the Glock 43X was my absolute favorite carry gun of all time. It just met exactly what I needed it to do, but it was a little short on the ammo side compared to bigger options. But the S15 coming to market was going to shrink the gap between full size and subcompact. So, put a lot of rounds through those magazines, had a lot of issues. First thing they did was sent me like 10% springs. Tried that out, still had malfunction issues. Then I actually sent all of my magazines back to Shield for them to inspect. They inspected them, they did some stuff, replaced some things, put some new butt pads on them, sent them back to me. Still had malfunctions, so that was over the course of a few months to a year. And then from when they first came out with the Gen 1s, and then they ended up sending me the Gen 2s. They kept the Gen 1s and said, hey, just give the Gen 2s a shot. See if they have the same malfunction issues that the Gen 1s did. So now we reach the point with the Gen 2 magazines. Slightly different follower design, I guess a different butt plate. The biggest thing is the interface with the feed ramp. That's what I was looking forward to on the new magazines, hoping that the new ones would make it, right? So the first thing is I got 600 rounds through the first Gen 2 magazine before I had my first malfunction. And guys, that's the longest that I've been able to make it through with these magazines without having a malfunction. It's about 500 to 600 rounds. Now, some people might say that's an acceptable failure rate for them. It just depends where you put that number at. I want to keep that failure rate as close to 0% as possible. And so I've reached out to a lot of different people and gotten their opinions on it. And I've also got my own firsthand experience and friends that I shoot with often. So I've had a few matches that I've shot with these magazines. I actually made it through 2 different matches with these magazines. This one in particular has given me a lot of issues in the past in classes, but it's actually made it through 2 competitions, about 150 round competitions without any issues. Now my friend Trevor, on the other hand, who you saw in a lot of the videos, has had a lot more problems than I have. His failure rate's probably higher than mine, and he has not made it through a single match so far without having a malfunction. And he had a malfunction that cost him 7 seconds on a stage, which is, if you know anything about the competition world, 7 seconds is an eternity. So what does this mean? We have a few different guns, a few different magazines, pretty small sample size, about 4 magazines each with somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 rounds between them. And it's just my personal experience and the people that I know. I personally am at the point where if it can't go 1,000 rounds straight with no issues, I won't carry it, because the stock Glock can. And that's the baseline, right? That's the gold standard that everything is measured against. So if it can't meet that standard, I won't carry it, because I know that there's something better that can. So you may reach your own different conclusions than I did. That's okay, but the point of this is go test it for yourself. Just because someone on Reddit shot 200 rounds through their magazines or their gun or their setup and it worked perfectly fine for them doesn't mean that you should take their word on it and assume. Because most of the reviews on Shield Arms magazines at the time when I was doing my testing were all positive. 4,000 rounds, no malfunctions, and here I am having malfunctions every 200 to 300 rounds. So my personal experience was much different than the experience that other people had had. And what causes this, I'm not sure. I know reputable people that I trust that have had over 1,000, 2,000 rounds to these magazines without any malfunctions. Maybe it's their gun. Maybe there's a slight difference in Glock manufacturing and the way it interfaces with these magazines. That slight difference may cause an issue with malfunctions, and we'll get into the most common types of malfunctions that I had. Specifically with my 48 MOS and my 43X that you see here, the main issues that I was having was failure to feeds, right? So for example, for those of you guys who don't know, a failure to feed is either the magazine is seated, right? If the magazine's not seated, you fire one round and get a click. That's a shooter induced error, not on the gun or the magazines. If the magazine is seated, you shoot, fire, get a click. That means that the next round did not feed in. That's on the gun or the setup or whatever you're using. Now I know the Glock 43X and its normal setup with the 10 round mags, I've never had a malfunction through it. So isolating out for just these, I isolated down that this was the issue. This was causing the failure to feeds. And I have a lot of those on video and a lot that I haven't caught on video. The second and less common malfunction that you see is a slide lock reload induced double feed failure to extract, depending on how it happens. So essentially what happens is you have your gun, you go and you're timing it when you're trying to drop the slide with the slide catch. Trying to time it so the mag seats and then it goes, then it drops into battery. Now, if you drop that too soon, that's on you. That's not on the gun. But as you've seen in some of these videos, we're not doing it. I've trained out of doing that. I don't try and time it anymore. I go boom, I make sure it's seated, and then I hit it, roll and go. As you can see in some of these videos, you're getting into a slide lock induced failure to extract. It's kind of a weird malfunction, and then you tap rack, but it's not going to tap rack because you have 2 rounds that are trying to go in, so then you have to clear it. However you like to clear it, that's up for a different debate at a different time. But now you've gone into a more serious malfunction, and that's the malfunction that cost my buddy Trevor like 7 seconds on a stage. It's not fun to clear. All right guys, so there's a quick overview of my thoughts on the Shield Arms Gen 2 magazines. I'm not going to tell you not to carry them. What I'm going to tell you is put a lot of rounds through them with your setup, make sure they run with your specific carry ammo, and make sure that they're really reliable, because that's the question you got to ask. Is an extra 5 rounds at the, let's say you get a 10% increase in malfunctions over a standard Glock or a SIG or whatever, is whatever modification you're making to the gun worth increasing the failure rate? Are you more likely to need those 5 rounds, or are you more likely to need to have your gun cycle flawlessly? That's up to you. Those are questions you have to ask yourself. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Get out there, train hard, stay safe.
Super quick plug, guys. If you are trying to read the Bible for the first time, read it cover to cover,
Guys, this is the Bible I recommend. It's the 1-year chronological Bible. You can get it on Amazon, but if you don't have the money for it, shoot me a message either on Instagram or an email. I will buy you one and I will send it to you totally free of charge. Guys, this has been an amazing tool that's helped me read through the gospel a few times, giving me a much better and broader understanding of the truth that the gospel proclaims.